I started by pouring some plaster into the mold to create some cool looking rocks. For the terrain I used some hot wire to cut out some pieces of the XPS4. And with the hot air dryer I remove some edges and do some more terrain. The plaster has dried and I will remove it from the mold and start doing terrain with the rocks. Once I think everything looks good, I spray paint everything with a dark color. Instead of paint, I use some rust powder to brush off the rocks in different rust tones. It's really important to use some very fine sand, otherwise you will destroy the feeling of realism and it will really look like miniature. As always, my MK4 Prusa makes amazing prints just like this UFO. I just randomly rip out some pieces of the UFO to make it really look like it crashed. I'm sorry I skipped this step, but I spray painted the UFO with a metallic spray paint and then I just used some airbrush to make the rust effect. And to give the rust more detail I just use a lighter tone of rust and carefully brush it on top. Here you can see the most exciting part when I add my UFO to the terrain. Those three 3D printed parts that are already painted will be a foreground, giving me more diversity when filming. After gluing the parts on the form, I just use some rough sand, sprinkle it on top, and then I use some fine sand and some very fine sand to close the gaps. So this is our mid-ground main plate with the crashed UFO. We also want to include a foreground and a background plate to make editing and filming easier. So we have our foreground, our mid-ground and also the background with the SpaceX rocket. And it will look something like this. We are never filming with all three plates at the same time. We start with the foreground, then the midground and then the background, but never all three plates at the same time. This makes editing way easier because then you don't have to key things out because you have always separate shots. We are going to film this set with a probe lens. This makes it easier for the viewer to dive into the scene and be very close to the ground here. So for now I'm just going to adjust the slider for the perfect slide and a very little movement, just maybe like 4 centimeters. I can control the whole set, including the slider with the app, and I'm just going to let the slider go in a loop back and forth, back and forth. And I can also control all my lights here, making it very easy and being flexible. For the middle ground, I'm going to perfectly align the camera, and I leave the foreground to see in the camera where the crashed UFO sits. Then I can control in the camera, and as we can see, it perfectly aligns and is inside, and the UFO is inside the frame. So I'm going to remove the foreground and only film the midground. Bring back the light. For the midground, I decided to go for some practical effects, like smoke. I'm just going to blow the smoke so that it looks like a sandstorm in the back. And the last step is to, again, align the background of the camera so the SpaceX rocket is inside the frame. And then going to adjust the light and also remove the midground. And again, film the background. So we will repeat this process with different angles and also without background, without foreground, and some close-ups of the crashed UFO. But it's all the same procedure. And there are some special tricks that you can do to remove, for example, the blue lines when keying out the blue screen. But this will be a secret for now. This will be with different passes, different backgrounds, but maybe I will reveal it in the next videos. So this video was just to give you an idea about the whole process, about building, filming, and a little bit of editing. Filming is done, and now I will do some editing, and then I can show you the final result. Just very quick before I show you the final result, I have Supercomp Maxim right here with my different layers, and I'm just going to show you. I have my foreground right here, and then I can do right behind the foreground. My fork pass, another fork pass, and then there's the midground right here. And now I will show you the final result. Thank you so much for watching. These videos take a lot of time and effort to make, so I would be really happy if you can support my work by liking, commenting, or even subscribing. See you on the next one.